to have your trauma slate feel like it's wiped entirely clean has been one of the greatest gifts of my entire lifetime.
Welcome to Still In It, 5-MeO DMT Stories. I'm your host, Arthur. Whether you're curious, preparing for your own journey, or reflecting on past experiences, we hope these stories resonate, inform, and inspire. Please enjoy today's episode.
This podcast is brought to you by Enfold, offering the world's most comprehensive 5-MeO DMT program. To learn more, visit enfold.org. That's enfold.org, or click on the link in the show notes.
Well, today I'm really pleased to be joined by Jaclyn, who came to Enfold in August of 2024. Jaclyn is a entrepreneur and small business owner in the Okanagan of British Columbia, Canada. And Jaclyn, thanks so much for being here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me, Arthur.
Yeah. So it's been just less than a year since you were with us in August of 2024, as I mentioned. Do you recall what were the things that were going on in your life at that time, Jaclyn, that prompted a decision to look into and eventually commit to a 5-MeO experience?
Yeah, wow, time is such a gift, and to be able to say it's been almost a year is really special. I was moving through, Arthur, quite a layered terrain of grief, personal, and I would say too ancestral in a very real sense, as I was very clear that 5-MeO was the right choice for me, and I'll say it was something that I had been researching for many years. My background is, my academic background is in English communications and psychology. And so I've been quite fascinated with this medicine and how it has quite profoundly shifted some very close friends in my orbit. But I was experiencing things like intensely fractured sleep, with this grief that I was moving through. Also, quite a traumatic incident that my father had, and I'm his power of attorney. Just reactivated nervous system triggers that I was noticing. Things like reoccurring distrust towards certain masculine energies, especially in leadership spaces, which I feel honored that I get opportunity to sit at many tables in what I do in my career and personally as well. And that wasn't something small that was impacting me. And I'm someone too who I've done the work, as we call it. I've done quite a lot of that in my time thus far. And yet something in me knew that I was still circling around a few core wounds. And sincerely, I wasn't seeking an escape from that. I was seeking resolution and a certain depth of, I would say, like, remembrance of self pre highly traumatic experiences, both in childhood and in adulthood, in my womanhood. And so I had a very dear friend and mentor who we were on a hike one morning, and I was asking him a question about 5-MeO, and he's experienced this multiple times, and he kind of, his whole body and being turned towards me, and I'll never forget this moment. And he just asked me a very pointed question. He was like, "You're highly curious about this medicine, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I am." It's like, it was almost as though it was calling to me more than I was curious about it.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, "Jax, I believe this is perfect for you, and I would love to send you." And it was such a, like, every cell in my body was an immediate yes. The timing was right. I knew it was for me in that timing. And I sent the wonderful and beautiful Steve in Austin a message later that day, and booked my spot.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Yeah. Do you have a sense of, before coming out to Enfold, and perhaps some of this is still going on, but yeah, would love to hear any more that you're comfortable sharing around how those core wounds were limiting your experience and enjoyment of life, if you're still in touch with that in some way.
Yeah.
How are you being held back? Yeah.
Yeah, I was noticing, certainly I was blocked, in particular with masculine energies in trusting, entering spaces and rooms, that I didn't feel safe and I didn't feel comfortable. And I knew some of it wasn't entirely rational, I would say. And yeah, and I'm someone who I prefer like the depth of conversation and instead of surface level. And this is something that I've been more openly talking about in this season of my life. And the trauma that I have been moving through was childhood sexual abuse. And so for me, I was still feeling residues of that. And to have your trauma slate feel like it's wiped entirely clean has been one of the greatest gifts of my entire lifetime.
Mm.
And to have just profoundly safe feeling incubators um, and containers like what you and Steve and Austin offer, not only in, you know, the week that folks come and spend time with you, but your whole process is something that I have reverence for, from, you know, the lead up and the protocol before the journey, and then the integration process after. Every The process before, the protocol, the week of ceremony, and then the integration after. It was almost like a 3-part impactful, layered, um, beautiful healing. And each part equally as important as the next, I would share and say, in just, you know, moving through multiple layers of things, not only, you know, my own traumas, but in a very real sense, it felt as though I cleared what's not even mine, what I've been holding in my epigenetics. And that's quite a profound shift as well to have been leaning into. And I had a really beautiful friend say to me upon making this decision to go, she said to me, you know, Jax, having been on a similar journey herself, she said, just call in all of your well-heeled ancestors in this journey and just trust that, you know, the journey will be what the journey will be. And even now still I feel the momentum of that and the energy of that around me. And yeah, it's quite profound.
Mm-hmm. Love to hear more about that, and how that, I suppose, showed up for you throughout the time that you were here and afterwards. But I'm curious, Jaclyn, do you recall the first moment where you began to recognize the effect and power of this medicine?
It's funny, I had messaged a friend, a dear friend, who I had the opportunity to sit with just days after he came and visited you all. And he's the kind of person who doesn't at all push his opinions on other people, but someone who I've just come to love very dearly. And he was sharing his experience with me. And it was right before I came to Enfold, and I was really feeling some stickiness and honestly fear about coming. And I said to him in that conversation, I said, I feel as though I've been on this journey and I've attended the medicine journey already without even going. That the protocol before and the way that it called to me, the conversation I had with you before I even entered the space, I knew that the medicine was powerful because of what I was able to move through even before coming to visit you all. The way that you held space for me, the conversation that we had, and I had reservations in the week leading up. It was interesting, the fears that saying yes to this experience was bringing up in me. And you and I tucked ourselves into a sacred little Zoom call for 1 hour. And you just sat with me and allowed me to, you know, sit with, like a friend, all of those fears and comforted me in a really profoundly beautiful way. And thank you for that, by the way.
It's my pleasure.
And so, I, yeah, I hadn't even stepped foot with you all at Enfold yet. And I knew, I would say, in that 1 hour time that you and I had together, in the way that, in that process and the way that you held space for me, I knew that it was the beginning of something tremendously powerful. So I would say that conversation was one of the first moments when I knew, okay, this is going to be quite a powerful experience. And then to, you know, you come to meet all of you all, and between, gosh, the holding of the space and the medicine and the land. It's just this combination of like otherworldly, powerful medicines and layers.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's certainly not one thing. Um, Stepping into the ceremonial container, we could say, perhaps
Mm.
with that low dose ceremony on the first day. How was that for you?
Beautiful. Like beautiful in a way that I almost need a new language, Arthur, to be able to communicate how incredible it was. Just the level of oneness that you discover. In I remember the music. I'm just such a lover of sound and music and its propensity to be able to like assist in healing. And I know Steve is just this beautiful curator of music. And there was this incredible piano playing in the background of the first kind of ceremony. And I remember feeling like I became this like vibration that was akin to like piano music, just radiating out into the world like infinite love. And not in a woo woo way, but in a way that was just very clear that we are all connected. And in that same breath, I was so thrilled with my decision to enter into this container with fellow participants, because my goodness, did those other parties in that group profoundly add to and elevate my experience
Hmm.
in what was moved through in that week. And so in that first kind of ceremony that we were all in together, I really felt that sense of community, and that we were all moving through this experience as one. Obviously, in a very different sense, we were all coming for different reasons, but just this the power of that. I come from the mentality that we very very much heal in community the best, and so for me that was the right fit without question or doubt. And so to be just amongst my brothers and sisters in that particular ceremony was pretty incredible.
Hmm. And how about the following day ceremony? Of course, the Sangha ceremony, where for some people that can be one of the most challenging experiences, being in a vulnerable space with other people that perhaps you've just met. But if I recall correctly, there was a depth of sharing from you and of course the other participants there that, yeah, I'm just curious to hear if you recall or you're in touch with how that um, aided or deepened the process and the journey for you being a part of that relational container on the Tuesday in the Sangha ceremony.
Yeah, yeah, there was a depth of sharing from many different angles, and like I said, that really was quite impactful and meaningful for me. We mentioned kind of in our conversation before we started recording here that there were multiple shares that were very impactful for me. Other folks in our group that day who have similar experiences to me. Also, there was one fellow in the group who, again, a lot of my healing was with kind of masculine energies, and his willingness to show up and do the work and just be this really safe human being inside our group was profound for me as well, witnessing his healing. And at the same time, that was quite supportive and beautiful.
Mhm.
Just the way we all kind of walked each other through that day on the whole is something I'll never forget as long as I live. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
lots of hugging.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I remember there being lots of just like really beautiful embracing, and the depth of compassion was something that I'm quite a compassionate person, and I'm pretty blessed and grateful to have an orbit of humans who are kind of walk a similar vibration. But this was just a depth that was beyond, I think, what folks could ever hope for in terms of a container. So kudos and bravo to you and your beautiful friends in how you, I know there's a depth of due diligence for you all, and who comes and who you serve. And from an insight into my lens is that it was a 10 out of 10 home run in the,
Appreciate that. Yeah.
yeah.
And of course, we can't do it without people like you, so it goes both ways. And
So,
yeah, appreciate you being here and there. And yeah, do you recall? Of course, a lot of people look at the following day, the Wednesday full release ceremony, as the main event, and I'd say that's true in some respects. But um, yeah, what do you recall from that day? Are there moments that stand out to you? A lot of people view that as the moment where some major shifts get really catalyzed. Was that true for you as well?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. In a sense, that for me was, well, it felt like, I feel as though the word that my English language can closest reach is, it absolutely felt like I birthed myself back to myself
Mm,
that day. Just, yeah, it was pretty incredible. I remember waking up that morning and being open and in trust more than I anticipated I would be. I thought I would still be feeling kind of, pinches of fear, but not at all. That was not at all my experience. I remember just sitting down in front of Steve and Austin and meeting their gaze, and just knowing with so much clarity that I was in the exact right place with the exact right energies and people to move through this really profound healing experience. And like I said, I have multiple friends who've moved through this as well, and they describe it also with languaging akin to like being life changing. And it is so much that,
mm,
and it is so much more than that at the same,
mhm,
in the same breath. Um, yeah, quite a gift that day was. That then
mhm,
I would say that the integration day with the ice bath was almost more main event esque, if that's the language you want to use for me.
mm,
Yeah, yeah, and just like closing the loop on the whole experience. And I'm not sure if you recall, I remember going into that ice bath after our sauna ceremony. And oh my gosh, Arthur, I let out, or I don't know if you remember this moment, but I let out a roar.
mhm,
Like I have two kids, two beautiful boys who are 9 and 7, like natural childbirth.
mm,
I've done the, you know, maternal roaring, and it very much was that in the ice bath and integration for me. And that's a non-medicine day.
mhm,
I remember just letting out this very healing roar out into the ocean, into the mountains, that felt like, yeah, in a very real sense. In that moment, I birthed myself back to myself in a way that I didn't even realize I was needing to do.
mhm,
Yeah, and then other of my other friends and comrades who are alongside me were kind of saying things like, I don't think you realize, like, you roared for all of us.
mm,
That felt like a roar for all of mankind, for
mm,
the entire group. That vibration healed things in them. Um,
mhm,
and oh my goodness, my throat chakra has been so clear ever since.
mhm,
Yeah, lots of finding a voice in a powerful new way.
mm. Yeah, how do you feel like your ability to communicate and express yourself is different since that moment, since returning home?
Oh, yeah, beautiful question. I've always been someone who's been highly communicative. I suppose I've had seasons where I've been less so. Um, but the clarity with which I share and the knowingness is is the shift, I would say. And it's really not holding back, sharing almost in a judicial way as well. But yeah, quite a profound shift.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
And earlier, of course, in our conversation, you mentioned the integration. It's a big question, but yeah, what was that like for you? Was it particularly
Mm.
challenging? Yeah, what did you notice happening during that time after returning home?
What did I notice? Everything.
Say more.
Oh, the noticing is the thing. The depth of awareness. And it is true, Stephen Austin, in the dinner when we wrap things up with you beautiful humans, kind of at the end of this week experience, we talk as a group about how, the work really begins after leaving and in integrating the work. And that was so much and still continues to be the truth for me. And I know myself. I'm quite a self-aware person, and for me, I knew that when I committed to this experience, that I wanted to commit 150% to the protocol before, to the experience in the week, but then also to the integration, and ensure that I set my schedule and myself up for success to be able to dance with that integration and however I was going to need to. And I found myself, I actually entered into almost 2 months of hypnotherapy after returning back
Mm,
from the experience to support in my integration with, on recommendation. This is another thing that I love about your group is it comes with this incredible network of brilliant human beings. And as someone who loves human psychology and behavioral psychology, I kind of like hand plucked this beautiful human being called Emmy,
mhm.
who's been to Enfold and understands 5-MeO medicine. And
Emmy has actually done a podcast with us, so if people are curious to
yeah,
hear more, but
yeah,
yeah, please continue.
yeah, and she is quite a force of a woman. And so I spent some time with Emmy after just to really ground my integration and move through, just continue to process all that my experience was. And I highly recommend that people um, really take to heart and take lightly but seriously the integration process of this journey, because for me, yeah, it has a tendency to bring up a lot. It can clears a lot. But I have found myself in the last 10 months, Arthur, just so radically uh, grateful for my orbit of human beings who have stuck so near to me,
Mm,
especially those who understand the depth of this work, fellow people who, are just self aware of what needs to be done. And yeah,
mhm,
my friends who visited you or have been on like experiences, I won't name any names, but they absolutely know who they are. And I send just a depth of love out to them.
mhm.
Yeah.
If somebody were to ask you, and I suppose I'm just about to, if somebody were to ask you what has most changed in you as a result of this experience, like say somebody was curious about coming, but was trying to
Mm.
get more information about what they can potentially expect. If they asked you what has most changed in you as a result of going through this 5-MeO program, yeah,
What has
what is it?
what has
Yeah.
most changed in me? I move I move from peace now
Mm,
instead of toward it. And I am in right relationship with the masculine as well. That's something that was quite personal to me. The freeze has thawed and the love flows, which is was kind of part of my why in joining. I trust life and myself in a way that's quite like unshakable.
mm,
And so that feels like quite a gift. And my baseline of vibration has always been pretty rooted in like joy and compassion and clarity, but life is seasons and we like it's easy to forget. And so, yeah, just really brought me back into a remembrance of who I am and my purpose in this one life, and a lot of my whys. So I would say those are some of what's been the result for me on like a surface level. We could talk all day, my friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a beautiful reflection. Yeah, with the masculine piece, I think that's a really beautiful recognition and an important piece to potentially talk a little bit more of. I imagine there are many people listening who have identified some kind of troubling or
Mhm.
dysfunctional relationship with the masculine. How is that different for you now compared to the challenges that you were experiencing before? How are you, yeah, relating to masculine energy and masculine people in your life differently now?
Hmm.
I
I,
recall you sharing an anecdote about some professional colleagues in like the weeks following. So I don't know if that is a good place to start or if I'm making that up, but
no.
that's what I recall.
Yeah. I when I returned, I remember I sent to some of my comrades and my colleagues uh, just a very genuine email of thanks. There had been just some people in my world and my life who came along and really are like those in the last number of years. And of course, these such humans are everywhere. But there have been a few particular folks in my orbit who are just like the utmost gentlemen in every sense of the word, and the way in which they move about the world and the work that they do in this world has really been mattering to me. And so I sat in reflection and I sent them an email, and I think I blind copied you and Steve on it because you two are these such gentlemen in the world in the way in which you move through your work personally and professionally with just such a beautiful depth of like softness and strength at the same time that I
Mm,
have a lot of respect for. And so I sent an email out just thanking them for the energy in which they move about the world and for how much it's impacted me. And so that was really beautifully received. Um, yeah, and I think also just, surrendering parts of me that were still attached to pain as an identity has been very real. Trusting certain human beings to kind of hold me, and especially with someone with a history of, like I said, childhood sexual trauma, that's not a small thing to be able to find and to be able to move through. So integrating the vastness of the experience back into like human schedule and inbox and relational dynamics
mm.
is yeah, something to do very tenderly and with care. uh, but yeah, what a gift.
Yeah, as you said, Jacqueline, we could talk about this for a long time, and I would love to. Of course, we don't have an unlimited amount of time,
Mhm.
but as a final question, I suppose, if you could somehow go back in time as current Jacqueline and give past Jacqueline some advice
Hmm.
about this upcoming experience, like, yeah, what's one thing that you would share with your past self who's about to enter this container?
I would say don't be afraid of the pain. Your joy is on the other side of what you may have been avoiding, and come with reverence. It's Enfold and all that it is. It's not a trip. It's a soul reckoning.
Mm,
And when it's time to take the leap. And for me, it was like I had mentioned, it was as though this medicine called to me more than I called to it. And so I'm very thankful for my choice to leap when I did. The timing was unadulterated perfection for me. And life as it is today is quite a stunning ride. Yeah.
yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Well, Jacqueline, I so appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today, and we're just so grateful to have you as part of our community.
Mm.
And yeah, I'll look forward to the next time we can connect.
Yeah, absolutely. I too look forward to our next visit. And please give all of our friends there a big hug for me.
I will. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.